Hey kids, remember Waco? No, not that one. The biker shootout at the Twin Peaks in Waco, Texas back in 2015.
Tonight, gunfire erupts in broad daylight at a Waco, Texas restaurant, killing 9 people and injuring 18 others. Police say the shots rang out shortly after 12:15 this afternoon when 3 rival motorcycle gangs got into an argument inside the restaurant that quickly spilled into the parking lot and escalated into a gunfight. The parking lot swarming with law enforcement officials, shutting down the shopping center and warning people to stay out of the area as local hospitals treat the wounded. Tonight, police say they've made several arrests in connection to the gunfight.
So basically, the Cossacks and Scimitars showed up to a coalitions of clubs and independence meeting about biker rights, and there were previous tensions with the Banditos over turf. Someone got their foot run over, and a brawl broke out. The details are kinda iffy, but the consensus seems to be that a shot was fired. Both sides claim that the other did it, and that it was a warning shot, but take that with a grain of salt. Now the details henceforth are up for debate. Eyewitnesses claim that after the first couple of shots were fired, they heard suppressed rifle fire. Now the only people there with that kind of weaponry were the police. The biker clubs claim that the majority of the deaths were from police wildly firing into the crowd, and the police were forced to admit to killing at least 4 people. The situation was handled very poorly, as were the subsequent arrests and charges.
On May 29th, Clinton Broden, an attorney with Broden and Mickelson, representing arrested biker Matthew Allen Clendenin, filed a lawsuit in U.S. Federal District Court claiming that his client was innocent of all charges and was held on a fill-in-the-name warrant without any individual probable cause. The lawsuit was filed against the city of Waco, Texas, and McLennan County as defendants, and also 1 named and 20 unnamed police officers, as well as the McLennan County District Attorney, Abelino Reyna, and 5 unnamed assistant district attorneys. Clendenin is a graduate of Baylor University, a small business owner, and has no previous criminal record. He was bailed after posting $100,000. He is a member of the Scimitars Motorcycle Club. 2.5 weeks after the shootout, over 140 of those arrested were still being held on $1 million bail. Law school professor and civil rights lawyer David Karius characterized the attitude of police as, "Let's arrest them all and sort it out later," comparing the arrests to the Red Scare mass arrests of socialists and communists after World War I and the period of McCarthyism in the early 1950s. According to Karius, such arrests may have a chilling effect on freedom of association and freedom of speech. Waco police tried to prevent the release of standard information about the shootout, particularly pertaining to arresting officers. The city attorney of Waco requested that the Attorney General of Texas give them power to withhold the public records from the news media. Bill Ailshire, an attorney in Austin, Texas, criticized Waco officials for violating bedrock open government law. By early June, criticism of the lack of accurate information about the incident was increasing in the national news media. Connor Friedersdorf, a reporter for The Atlantic, described the incarceration of 160 people on $1 million bonds as self-evidently excessive, and pointed out that the information lacking included how many of the dead bikers were shot by police officers, how many cops fired their weapons, or how many total rounds they discharged. A reporter for the Houston Press described the response of Waco authorities as a textbook example of how not to handle an emergency situation. Also, on June 22nd, attorneys for Matt Clendenin, a member of the Scimitars Motorcycle Club, served Twin Peaks with a subpoena to produce their copy of the surveillance video of the events. The city of Waco moved to quash the subpoena. However, according to Clendenin's attorney, the city did not have the standing to do so, and only Twin Peaks, the recipient of the subpoena, could move to quash. On June 30th, a Waco State District judge denied the city's motion to quash, requiring Twin Peaks to turn over the footage, but he barred the release of the video to the public. At the request of prosecutors, the judge also placed a gag order on the Clendenin case, prohibiting police, attorneys, and witnesses from discussing the case publicly. Clendenin's attorneys filed an emergency appeal of the gag order the next day. On September 14, 2016, 3 Waco police officers were cleared of wrongdoing in the shootout by a grand jury. A McLennan County grand jury reviewed the cases and chose not to charge the Waco officers, Andy O'Neill, Michael Booker, and Heath Jackson.
Well, guess what? Now, years later, all the charges have been dropped. The case was handed down to a new district attorney, and by then they realized that the whole thing was a shit show. They didn't feel they had sufficient evidence to convict individuals, so they attempted to try them as a group under organized crime laws. But there was no evidence of that either, especially having to prove every individual was involved, so they had no choice but to drop the case. Some people even speculate that they wanted to drop the case because nobody would look any further into how many people the police shot. But either way, whether you think the bikers shot those people or the police did, it's just another all too common example of the legal system dropping the ball. Oh, and by the way, the cops decided to rob everybody while they were there. Oh, but wait, there's more! Thanks to the wonders of the internet, we get to hear the knee-jerk reactions of people who skim through headlines. Check out these comments. White gang privilege pops up a lot. People jump to the conclusion that the charges were dropped because the assailants are white, and that if they were black, this would never happen. First off, that would assume that the entire justice system, from the police all the way up to the district attorney, just love white supremacist biker gangs and gotta risk their jobs to protect their fellow whiteys. Secondly, and perhaps most importantly, we're talking about the Banditos for fuck's sakes. They're a heavily Latino biker club. You'd think the name and logo might tip these morons off. Just look at these mugshots. Clearly, they're people that would not be welcome at a white supremacist rally and are not cashing in any white privilege tokens. People just like to jump to conclusions both about the demographics of biker gangs and about the power and scope of white privilege. That's the problem with the world, or a problem with it, I suppose, is that the majority of people just jump to a conclusion in their head and then wholeheartedly believe the thing that they just made up, by virtue of them having conceived it. None of the people who commented had the introspection or self-awareness to consider that they don't know anything about the subject they're commenting on. We live in a day and age where getting your information is easier than ever, yet people don't even bother to fucking try. They just saw an opportunity to spout off about a pet issue where it didn't really exist. They cherry-pick examples and act like only white criminals ever get away with anything, due to botched cases. The law fails quite often. I don't see in this case how race played any role in that.